This is Old Line Farmer Radio, a Maryland Farm Bureau production, helping you achieve your best farm future.
Hello, and welcome to Old Line Farmer Radio. My name is Kendall Abrazizi, Regional Field Manager for Maryland Farm Bureau, and I'm your host this week. It's currently April 16th, and the estimated average price of soybeans is at $9.92 per bushel, and the estimated average price of corn in Maryland is $5.13 per bushel, the first time corn has hit the $5 mark in over a month. Let's check out a couple of headlines from this week. Senate Bill 931, House Bill 1036 was passed by the Maryland legislature, and it puts farmland at risk by allowing the state to override local zoning laws to build solar projects on agricultural land. However, Governor Wes Moore has the opportunity to veto this short-sighted bill. Visit mdfarmburo.com/action-center to write the governor and urge him to stand with Maryland's farmers by vetoing this bill. Thank you to everyone who has already spoken out and against this bill. 9 Maryland farm families were inducted into the Maryland's Century Farm program. This program celebrates farm operations who have reached more than 100 years of continuous farming. Since the program's establishment in 1994 by Governor William Donald Schaefer, 225 farms have received the Century Farm designation. Thank you to these families for their enduring, multi-generational dedication to agriculture. Earlier this week, Maryland Congresswoman April McLean Delaney visited Butler's Orchard in Germantown to speak with Farm Bureau members from Montgomery County. Federal topics discussed during her visit included labor concerns, regulatory reform, the impact of tariffs, and streamlining regulation. As the only Maryland representative in Congress on the Ag Committee, we appreciate the Congresswoman taking the time to speak with our members on their most pressing issues. The Leopold Conservation Award is a nationally recognized honor celebrating achievement in voluntary conservation by farmers. In Maryland, the Hutchison family of Talbot County took home this prestigious award for their lifelong dedication to agricultural research and sustainable farming practices. Jeb Burchick sits down with father and son duo Bob and Travis Hutchison to talk about their leadership in sustainable agriculture and their pioneering work with cover crops and no-till farming on Maryland's Eastern Shore.
Old Line Farmer Radio, I'm Jeb Burchick, and we are here with 2 legends on the Eastern Shore. We have Mr. Travis Hutchison and Mr. Bob Hutchison, and they are the 2024 recipients of the Leopold Conservation Award. Do you mind telling us what that award's all about?
It's a national conservation award that's given out in quite a few states. I forget the number, 23 or more anyway. And fortunately, we were the recipients this year. And it's for practices that we've done over the years that, conservation practices anywhere from no-till to cover crops to pattern tile drainage and bioreactors and that type thing. Very, very humbled and honored to receive it.
Mm. And we were talking beforehand, kind of cover crops and no-till has become a pretty normal practice for many Maryland farmers. But you were doing it, we like to joke, you were doing it before it was cool. Can you tell us a little bit about when you started doing it and how your family kind of adopted these practices very early on?
Well, my father was a progressive farmer and would try new things, and I guess I didn't really appreciate that quite as much when I was younger, but looking back, he certainly was, so that set the tone. And in the early 70s, I was working at the University of Maryland in soybean research, but no-till research was going on at that point in time. I wasn't involved with it, but I was rubbing shoulders with the people that were and on the farms where it was going on, and saw that it was a viable practice, and come home and talked to my father and 2 brothers that were farming at that point in time, and I said, think we should try this. And they planted a field of corn that to my knowledge, was the first one in our county of no-till corn. And then when I come back, we bought a no-till planter and started planting no-till soybeans. And it took me a couple of years to get them convinced, but since that point, we haven't planted anything but no-till double crop soybeans, and all of our dry land ground is now no-till. But we do not look at it as a religion like a lot of people do. We're just not automatic no-till. But the places where it fits, we use it, and it has a lot of advantages. I'll let Travis maybe speak to some of those.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess can you maybe explain Farming 101, what even is a cover crop, and how is getting those cover crops on the soil beneficial for soil health for when you do have corns and soybean later on in the year?
So cover crops, like we plant our corn and our beans, we harvest them in the fall. It used to be the ground would just stay bare through the winter time. Well, we putting a cover crop out there, and there's several species you plant. We mainly plant barley or wheat, a small grain on it, and sometimes we add some clover in it. You put it on in the fall, and it grows, and then it keeps the ground covered throughout the winter time. Also, if there's any nutrients left in the soil, it takes it up so it doesn't leach out. And then when it breaks down the next year, it's released back to the crops that are growing the next year. So it's protecting the soil and the water in the winter time when you can't grow corn and beans and everything. And then in the spring, before we plant, we terminate it. We spray it to kill the crop off, and then on our dry land ground, we'll just go in there and plant the corn directly into it. So that's planting no-till. Where in the old days, you used to go out there and you'd work the ground, plow it, and disc it and everything. Now we just go out there and plant direct into it, and that's no-till.
No-till means you're not disturbing the soil, or very minimal disturbing of the soil, as opposed to, like Travis said, plowing and disking it. And when I started farming for soybeans, we used to plow it and then disc it about at least 3 different times and let a crop of weeds grow in between. And that was a lot of our weed control at that point in time. Thank goodness we're not doing that still.
Awesome. And then we always say that farmers are the best stewards of their land because your livelihoods actually depend on this. There's a lot of misconceptions and misinformation out there online. I guess can you maybe speak a little bit to that? This land is your legacy. Why do you feel the need to take care of it as much as you have?
In our case, we've got about 203 man-years in the home farm here between my father and 5 brothers and son and nephew. So it's very important to us. It's how we make our living. If we don't treat it right, it's not going to treat us right. And to see erosion on the land is just hurts any of us farmers to see it. And no-till is one of the ways that we control it with other conservation practices too. You can't totally stop it, but you can cut it down substantially. I'm pulling figures out of the air, but probably 90 to 95% you can stop it. But you have those rare storms that throws curveballs. But it's always been important, and most farmers, all farmers that I know, say they want to leave the land better than when they received it, and that's part of trying to do that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so you've been doing this for years and years. We were talking earlier that, when you first started suggesting this, some people were giving you weird looks about it. 2024, you guys won the Leopold Conservation Award. How does that feel to, after all these years, finally get recognized for your commitment to sustainability?
Well, we certainly didn't do any of it for an award. It's part of our normal practices, but it feels very good to be recognized and to realize that there's people that are paying attention to what you're doing or what farmers are doing in general. I don't think we're doing that much more than a lot of other farmers are, but we all believe in the land, and that's a big part of why we're farming is to own land and to be able to pass it on to our heirs.
And as I'm talking to you guys, there's so much science and biology that goes into growing this. There's a lot of people out there that think you just put a seed in the dirt and let it go. So it's really awesome that you guys are doing this. Can't help but notice that, we got dad, son. I know a lot of our listeners know Kara. You have these multiple generations of farming. I think just the last question, what brings you joy about this line of business?
I enjoy putting the seed in the ground in the spring and taking care of it through the year and watching it, and then go out in the fall when we harvest it and see how we did and everything. And if it was a good year, great crops, we look forward to see if we could do better next year. If it was a bad year, we look to see if we could do better next year.
And like Travis said, watching a successful crop growing and harvesting a big crop is just very satisfying. The challenge of making that happen is part of what keeps me in farming, and also knowing that I'm doing something that benefits other people and providing food for other people is very satisfying also.
Awesome. Very well said. Mr. Bob, Mr. Travis, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, please give us a rating and review, and if you learned something today, please share this podcast with your friends. Old Line Farmer Radio is a production of Maryland Farm Bureau. Produced by Jeb Burchick. Contributions this week from Parker Welch, Kendall Abrazizi, and Tyler Huff. Introduction by Hollis Zimmerman. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time on Old Line Farmer Radio.